Hey folks, Tony Lockhart here. This video is going to cover techniques on creating an animatic. Fair word of caution, there's going to be a dad joke, so you might want to just not watch this video. Okay, how do you get a squirrel to like you? Act like a nut. So one of the assignments I'm going to have my students do is to take these basic characters and to learn techniques of how to create an animatic. So in doing so, here's the demo video of how to create one. I created the storyboard. So notice that with this first shot right here, I've got an establishing shot, and I intend to do some kind of a pan downwards. Same scene, because I have the same background. I have these two characters and they're on a brand new layer. Plan to do some character or some layer animation. Now, one thing that's really nice about Storyboard Pro is that it sets up your scenes for you so you can export to Harmony. And you could tell that down here in the timeline. Notice that you have light gray, dark gray, light gray, dark gray, back and forth to stagger to let you know what scene number you're in. Now pay attention over here to the panel menu. You can actually see the scene number, the panel number, you get the duration of time. You can type in dialogue, action notes, and any other kind of notes. It's completely up to you to type all this stuff in. The more you can add to your storyboard, the better it's going to be. Alright, so anyways, here is the scene and how it unfolds. And I've got my tones, my backgrounds, and my grids. Feeling good. Let's go level this thing up. Let's go record some audio. Let's go make all of this stuff happen. So here's what I would do. I would go right over here to the beginning of this scene. I'm going to turn on this audio track, and then I'm going to right click down here, and what I want to do is to record a sound. Okay, I'm going to record a sound by hitting this button, and I'm going to just read my dialogue. Hey son, want to hear a joke? Press stop when I'm done. If I want to, I could play it. Hey son. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm going to click OK. Now notice, look at how long the actual dialogue is in terms of time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this down by hovering over the edge and dragging this inwards. And then I'm going to scoot this. I'm going to click, hold, and drag and scoot this over. Now notice that if this is the start time of my audio track and this is the end time, I'm going to have to hover over this thumbnail and I'm going to stretch this out so it matches. So when I hit the play button, no matter what happens, I'm going to hear the dad speaking. Let's go to the second one, and the son says, is it going to be lame? So here, let me go and I'm going to right click down here. Let me right click and I'm going to put a new audio track. So the top one could be the dad, the bottom one could be the son, and it's nice to isolate these things because it will give me more control later. Let's go back and I'm going to go in and let's pause the recording and let's go and let me record all the audio tracks. Okay, so now that my audio is recorded and I have everything set up, what I need to do is to trim all these clips and get the audio to line up properly. So if I know the dad is going to be on this line, this first line right here, in fact this might be handy to go back in and perhaps I can just go and color all of these different lines. So here, let me just kind of zoom this out a bit. I'm going to go and take all of these audio clips and I'm going to set the color to yellow. All of the clips for the sun, I want to right click those, set that color to red, and that's going to be helpful. Let me just grab this little slider and zoom back in, and then I've got a nice visual. So I'm going to just go and stretch all these downwards, and let's just kind of clean them up and trim all this audio because we don't need all of it. There we go. Looks good. Okay, so in this segment, what we need to do is to figure out some of the timing. And we're going to also go and add some camera moves. So if we have a nice establishing shot, super critical to understand that in Storyboard Pro, when you go to the panel menu, you can see the duration of time. This is 1 second and 17 frames currently. So if you think about 24 frames a second, it's almost 2 full seconds. You can also click, hold, and drag this slider. And what that's going to do is it's going to change the amount of time. Notice that I'm exactly at 2 seconds. And as I move closer to that 224, it's going to just change to 3 seconds. 324 is going to change to 4 seconds, and so on and so forth. And that's because Storyboard Pro times this out in animation timing, where every 1 second is 24 frames. So let me think. I'm going to probably do a 1 1000, 2 1000. So just under 2 seconds, I'm going to have that establishing scene. So let's go and take it to about like 120. And then what I want to do is to go to this frame right here, this panel. This is where the camera is going to pan downwards. And I'm going to give that maybe 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000. I'd like to establish the scene with a little bit of just that sunny sky. I'm going to hit the plus sign over here in the timeline, and that's going to give me some kind of a camera keyframe. If I go to the camera tool, which is right over here on the left, what I can do is I can go and move that camera to a new location. I could also resize it if I want, make it a little bit bigger or smaller. I think that's a good starting point. Now I want to have the camera pan downwards on my characters. So now that I have a camera start point, let's have a stop point right there. I'm going to hit that plus sign. And then now I can select this second camera. There's 2 dots, meaning camera 1, camera 2. If I select the second one, now I can move that downwards to right there. So if I scrub through the animation, it's going to play, and there we go. Now, maybe at some point what I want to do is to have the camera stay still right there. So I'm going to add in another keyframe that's a duplicate of this one. And then I'm going to move the camera ever so slightly. So let me go and give it one last keyframe. And with this one, I'm going to go and select the last camera. And I'm going to just move it downwards here, just a little bit, because I don't want the movement to be too jarring. Let's go ahead and play this real quick. Nice little hold, camera's in, and then I can follow the characters moving. Now in the same manner that we're going to go and do the camera move, we can go back and we could select individual layers, and underneath where the camera move option is, you can have a layer animation. Notice it says L:B. That's because I have layer B that's selected. So this will change every time I go and select a different layer. So I'm going to go for layer B, and I want to animate that. Let's go, and we're going to add a keyframe for the start of the scene. And then we're going to move to the end of the scene. Let's add another keyframe right there. And what I'm going to do is now, instead of the camera tool, I'm going to go to the transform tool. And let's move this artwork. Now, be very careful, because what happens is when you go and stretch this artwork out, and when you go move it, weird things happen. As in, look at how it's stretching and it's moving a lot. Part of the reason that happens is because the center point is not where I need it to be. Let's go, before I go and modify or edit this, I'm going to go and select this pivot point. Let me scoot that over down to the bottom center of where that character is. So when I zoom out and I decide to move that character, now when I select the artwork, it's going to kind of follow properly. And let's make these characters a little bit bigger so it looks like they're walking towards the camera. Okay? So now these guys are walking along. If I want to, they're not on the road. What I could do is I could scoot this over just a bit so there's a little bit of a curve that it follows on the path. Notice how it creates a brand new keyframe for me. And there we go. So it does its thing, the camera tracks with them. Okay, I think we got one last little bit of animation. So at some point, this character starts here and then walks off frame. So let's do one last. We're gonna go to layer B this time. Let's recenter that pivot point of that character. Let's go and plus sign a keyframe. Go to the end and have this character walk off. Let's do one last keyframe and get this guy all the way outside of that red box. So when we cut at some point, we could see that this guy's alone because somebody had left over there. All right, so let's go back and review how to create some kind of an animatic. Everything stems from the storyboard, the script, the idea, and then from there you need to visualize and create some kind of a storyboard. Now, one of the best things you could do is to create an audio track, and I really enjoy recording my own voice because it's funny and I can act silly. That's what animators are supposed to do. I also like to isolate the audio tracks, so I have my cricket sounds here, my background ambient sound right there, and I've got character 1 and character 2 on separate lines as well. Don't forget, you can hit the plus sign and the minus sign, the arrows over here to advance to different keyframes, because what you want to do is you want to have a variety of different types of camera angles and shots, but you also want to think about camera movement as well in a way that's going to help your story. So choose the type of shot that's going to be good for the story to tell exactly what's happening. For instance, we've got a nice wide shot to reestablish the relationship, got a nice over the shoulder medium wide shot, medium because we want to see this character walk off stage, but wide so we could see that we're at the park. And then to end the scene, we go pretty wide on this one character who's going to say, what did I say? Establishing shot nice and wide at the beginning. And again, notice that when you keep things in the same scene, and then when the background changes, you get a brand new scene. It also gives you a new camera and a new place to set up your camera as well. As long as you can do this and you can kind of create some kind of a story that's fun, I think you're going to make something really good. Okay, all right, so that was a lot. Let's finish off this video by saving and exporting your work. So do a file, export, movie, and choose a location and a name. So I'm going to call this Dad Joke. And I'm going to set this up with the computer I'm working on right now, and .mov file works nicely. Let's hit export and we'll go watch this. Hey son, want to hear a joke? Is it going to be lame? Son, have I ever told a lame joke before? Alright, go ahead. How do you get a squirrel to like you? How? You act like a nut. What did I say?